Everyone. Oh, it's been a week this week. Saturday night, Marwyn went out in the yard. It was dark and he was probably tired. So what he did was when he was jumping back in through over the patio step, he actually banged his back foot on the step. Now, if you're squeamish, especially if you're from the nail polish community and you've had a bad nail break and you know what that feels like, then look away for a few seconds. So poor Marwyn had split his claw right down to where the nerve is, which is why there was just blood everywhere. I completely freaked out. It was nowhere near as bad as it looked, but it was just, there was just blood everywhere. And the next day, on Sunday, he seemed okay and he was putting his foot down and it seemed like it would, stupidly, that it would be a good idea to take him for a short walk on the street. Well, you can see from the footage that that didn't last very long. Come on, sweetie. Up, 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 up. Come on, up, up, up. Good boy. So for the rest of the weekend, he was trying to hop and limp, and I was completely frantic, thinking that he'd broken his foot or he'd torn a ligament, and I couldn't get him to the vets until Tuesday. So I spent like 2-3 days going out of my mind, thinking that we're back to square one. This is going to completely impede on the window that we've got for the physio and working with him to get his back and his legs moving again. So I was just devastated. But I took him to the vets on Tuesday. It's fine. Everything was fine. It literally was just a break. He had x-rays. He was at the vets all day. It was an expensive trip to the vets just for a nail break, but I just needed that reassurance. And it's funny because everything's like really expensive at the moment with physio and vets trips, that I'm trying to pull my belt in. So this relates. One of the things that I've done is Asha, one of the cats, she's very fussy and she only eats a specific type of food. And it's very expensive. And what I did last week was I swapped the food for a cheaper brand. And she's been hilarious this week. So I came back from the vets on Tuesday. Marwyn was there all day. And she just kind of looked at me like, oh, you've not got a sick animal to look after. Okay, let me fix that. And she just threw up everywhere. It was like something from The Exorcist. And she looked at me and she was like, that's what I think of your shitty, cheap cat food. So I've had to swap her back onto the food that she'll eat. Yeah, she's been quite funny. Ash is the kind of cat where she's like aggressively affectionate with Marwyn particularly. So she's been really helping this week with the counterbalancing, because she's nudging him all the time and he's having to kind of balance and steady himself. So she's been like my little nurse this week. And she's just, yeah, I love her to bits, but sometimes she can be a bit of a nightmare. So Marwyn's fine. He's back on all fours again. We thought that there may be a nail bed infection, but I don't think there is. He's on antibiotics this week, but that's just as a precautionary thing, really. He's been back at the physio, and that's the main thing that was a relief for me, that it didn't stop him progressing with his physio, and it wasn't a we thought at one point that he'd like torn a ligament. And if you are watching this and you're going through something similar where you're working with a dog at home that's got a spinal injury, what I would say is, as they're starting to improve and get better, please make sure that you pay attention to them not like smacking their legs on things like steps, because they're not necessarily going to feel it the way that they would normally feel it. So just be careful when they're licking their feet and chewing, because before you know it they can start gnawing away. So you've got to be really careful. In a way, it's a kind of like the downside to them getting better, is they think they can do more than they actually can. So be careful of that. So that was my lesson this week. But we've been back at physio. Here's some footage of Marwyn in the pool this week, and he's been on the treadmill.
Good boy.
Yay! Good boy.
The movement of the treadmill is going to help him place his feet a bit better.
Yeah.
As opposed to a random.
That's good. That's exactly what he needs, because he's still quite wobbly with his balance.
It'll help get a nicer stride out of him as well. At the moment he's kind of up and down with his feet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Stop that. Face properly. Good boy, keep your head down. Good.
So as you can see, he's been doing really well. His legs have not, he's on all fours, and last week his legs were kind of splaying. They're much tighter together now, which is great, and he's getting more into this kind of motion rather than this sort of motion, which is brilliant. There's still a lot of repair that needs to be done between the brain and the legs and the feet to get them working in tandem, but he's doing brilliantly. And I will finish by showing you some footage of Marwyn just playing, and so you can see his balance and his mobility. And thank you very much again for all your support and your good wishes. Please continue to think about Marwyn and send your good positive vibes our way, because it is working. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye. Boy, go get it. Good boy.